Hello everyone, Patrick here from Rune Server. I wanted to give a quick rundown on RSPSi's 3D map editor. Um, he does have a quick guide here on basic controls, etc. But you may have just purchased this tool and just need some starting out tips. Before we get into the tool, I'd like to mention there is some illegitimate copies that do go around, and people have got their hands on it. They try to sell you for maybe a discounted price or even provide you for free. But I do want to mention that to receive continued updates and support, it does need to be purchased directly from this thread or RSPSi's website. There's a link right up here. You can purchase it now. He also has a little community here of people that'll share ideas and support and that sort of thing. So, also before we get into the tool, I'd like to share this website here. This is Expletives Map. So this, when you're first getting into map editing, or if you want to create new maps or just see what's available to you, this tool will be your best friend. I'll post a link in the description so you can view it. But basically, so maps, when you load it into the map editor, are loaded in regions, and if you toggle the region grid, the most popular map created, of course, is going to be Edgeville. A lot of you will just do minor Edgeville edits, or maybe replace Edgeville altogether, etc. So when you load in the Edgeville region, no matter which coordinate you put into the map editor, you will be loading this entire region. More recent updates of the map editor have allowed you to do multi-chunk loading. So if you have the ability to load these 4 regions, or some people like to remove the wilderness ditch, so you can load these 4 regions, get rid of the ditch, etc. So let's talk about the tool. So when you first load up the tool for the first time, you'll have this page come up. It's going to ask for a cache to load. Now, if you're working off of a DIOB or something that is not modified yet, your cache is not super important. Which one you choose, rather, because all the maps are going to be the same. If you're not using custom objects, etc. If you'd like to work on a map that's already packed within your cache, this is very important. So for our purposes, let's just load up this cache that we have already had in here. Another important deal on this screen is the plugins. So there is a variety of plugins that work with different cache configurations, and if one of these doesn't apply to you or doesn't work for you, contact RSPSi directly and he can get one made for you to support your cache. So let's go ahead and get into the tool. Like I said, Expletives is going to be your best friend, so let's, for this purpose, load into Edgeville. So also, as I mentioned before, you can load into any coordinate here and it'll load the whole region regardless. So let's just load into 3100, 3500. You can see your mouse cursor coordinates right here. So 3100, 3500 is about the center of Edgeville. But like I said, you could load this coordinate anywhere within this region and it'll load. So let's talk about the tool first, actually. Just kind of basic layout and design. When you first come in, you're going to go to File, Open From. Now you have 4 options here. So coordinates is pretty obvious. Hash as well. File, DAT and gzip. Depending on your cache, how you're packing, this will be what you're saving as in order to pack into your cache. Now a .pack, that's specific to RSPSi's map editor. It's very handy. When you save to a .dat and .gzip, Each region will have two files, one for the objects and one for the landscape, like the flags, etc. When you save to a pack, it'll save as one file. This is handy if you're going to come back to it later, or if you have multiple regions. If you're loading a 2x2 area, it'll all save within one .pack. So for now, let's just load into coordinates. Like I said, we're going to load into Edgeville. We're going to do 3100 and 3500. Okay. So this, of course, is Edgeville. Now, let's talk basic controls. WASD, very simple. W forward, S backwards, A and D will pan you. Okay. Middle mouse button is going to be your rotation. You can look all around with your rotation. If you're working on bigger regions and you're going forward, you can hold shift and it speeds you up significantly. Okay. Just like that. Let's talk about some of the toolbars on this side. So ST is going to be select tile. Just as it states, you're selecting a tile or selecting an area of tiles. SO, select object. Just as it states, you have the ability to select an object. Okay. D, delete an object. So let's just say this torch here. We want to click on it, you can delete it. Now be careful with this tool. So if there's other objects in the background and you select both, you see how I have this torch here, and if I go up a little bit, it has both selected, and you click it, both objects are gone. So be careful with that, especially with working with walls and wall decorations. For instance, this torch. You may want to copy this wall first, so you can replace it after you delete the torch. Either that, or you can angle your camera just right, so you can select just the torch. Okay. H is your height tool. So the height tool is arguably my favorite part of the tool. It's very powerful. So basic height tool controls, because that's a whole segment in itself. If you click, it goes up. If you shift click, it goes down. Okay. If you control click, that is your smoothing. Okay. So I'm going to hold control click right here, and it smoothed out the area. You see? This is unmodified. This is how Edgeville is. If you control click again, smooths it out. Okay. There's also a slider bar down here, tile height. This number is selectable or modifiable rather. You can enter a value here and hold Alt, and it'll move to that height. We'll talk about how to get these heights here in a minute. Okay. Also, you have a few of your standard window hotkeys here. Control Z to redo. You can also edit, redo. Okay. I'm sorry, undo. Redo is Control Y. You also have Control C for copy and Control V for paste. Okay. Another powerful hotkey. Let's get through this last tool actually. Okay. SF is your set flags. So there are several types of flags. There's an unwalkable flag, bridge flag, remove roof flag, render on Z flag, and don't draw on map flag. Your unwalkable flag is your clipping. Okay. Your bridge flag is located over here. So this is the Edgeville Bridge. If you go up top, so we're on height 0 right now, which, you know, of course, is your ground level, and you notice the bridge is missing. This is how bridge flags are used. So this bridge is actually on height 1, and it is flagged with a bridge flag. So if we go to View, Show Bridge Flags, you can see it's flagged. Okay, that's how bridges work. Your remove roof flag, that makes it to where when you walk inside of a building, in game, it will remove the roof. So for instance, if you walked into the Edgeville Bank and this roof was still here, that would be an issue. So anywhere inside of buildings, you want to flag with a remove roof flag. Render on Z will draw only the lowest level on the map. Okay. Don't draw on map flag. Pretty obvious. Just gonna make a black area. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of the other functions. So your view tab, show hidden tiles. Let's go up to height 1. Okay. Now say this wall may be a little bit off, and you select your height tool, but you don't have the option to move anything, right? Because there's no tile to select. So we're going to show hidden tiles, and you have tiles now. So you can adjust this wall's height just like that. Okay. Now that brings us to another good point. I undid this this change I made, but this wall is still showing funny. So anytime that you think objects may be showing funny, or things just aren't in sync, you can go to Tools and Force Map Update. So we're going to do that real quick, and you can see the wall is back to its original state, or rather not its original state, but the state it should be in according to the height. Okay. Disable blending is going to be for your underlays, right? Let me go ahead and turn off your hidden tiles. So you can see your blending for your underlays. If we disable it, there you go. This is not how it will look in game, regardless if you save the map with that option turned on. Okay. Then you have your flags. So show unwalkable flags, bridge flags, lowest plane, render on Z, and render flags, or disable render. Those will just highlight tiles that have that flags. This is really good when you're finishing up your map and you need to see what clipping you've done and what clipping you haven't done. Okay. Display overlay IDs. These are the IDs of the overlays. Okay. Very basic, very simple. We'll talk about overlays in just a second. Let's get through this. Same thing for underlays. Now this is where I was referencing tile heights. Okay. So this area is already 400. Okay. So let's go ahead and set it to 500. And then you have to hit the set button. This is a recent update. Now if you hold the Alt key and click, there you go. It's set to 504, just as we have it set here, 504. Okay. That's how you acquire tile height. Okay. Show animations is not currently working. There are some objects in the RuneScape cache that have animations. This is a planned update. Map icon says objects. So let's go ahead and enable that. Now this is a bank map icon here. Again, useful if you place a map icon and you later decide you want to remove it. You can't remove it otherwise. You have to show it as an object, and then if you notice here, here's the bank symbol. You can delete it now. Okay. Show objects, show overlays. Pretty simple. Overlays are your colored tiles, rather. I mean, I'm not sure how else to explain it. Overlays do not blend. Underlays blend. That may be a better way. Okay. So you can choose not to show overlays, right? Okay. Your tiles tab, these are other various tools. Copy flags from tiles. Again, these are your unwalkable bridge flags. You can get the overlays from it. Other miscellaneous tools here. Okay. Importing a prefab. Let's come back to this. This is a bit more advanced, but basically you have the ability. I probably won't touch on this during this video, but what you have the ability to do with prefabs is I could copy the entire Edgeville bank and save it as a prefab if I wanted to use it in a different area. Okay. And this is how you would do this. You would select them and you would export them. Again, here's your force map update. Fix height issue. This was an old debugging issue. You may run into some funky height issues. Give this a shot. But as I've noticed lately, that this is not needed anymore. Your map index editor, again, this is an advanced feature. We won't touch on that this video. None of this is really necessary this video for your basics. Okay. All right, so let's talk about overlays, objects, and underlays. So down here on your bottom right, you have an objects tab, an overlays tab, an underlays tab, as well as miscellaneous, as we talked about earlier, for your tile flags. So in your objects tab, you'll notice there's nothing here. Okay, so let's hit show object view. Now let's say, well, these bank booths are cool, but I want different ones. So we can search bank booth. Now here we have the ability to use other bank booths objects, right? So let's say we wanna close one of the bank booths, okay? So we can copy that. You're gonna hit add to swatches, okay? Also other pertinent info in this window. You have a lot of great object information here, okay? Now we're going to delete this bank booth, select this bank booth, okay? Now it's not placed, the rotation is not correct. So all rotations in the map editor are with E and Q, okay? E will turn it clockwise, Q will turn it counterclockwise, very simple. We're going to turn it that way, and now we have a closed bank booth. Let's talk about overlays. Your overlays, like I said, do not blend. They go on top of underlays, obviously, as you can tell by the name. Water, lava, tiles, things like that are your overlays. So let's say we want to replace this entire bank with a marble looking texture. Okay, you can do it tile by tile, or you also have a brush size down here. Now this brush size applies to most tools, so this will apply to your overlay tool, your underlay tool, as well as your height tool and your set flag tool. Okay, so we can increase this a bit, and we can do this much faster, right? Now, well, I thought that would look cool based off of this little picture, but I don't really care for it now. So I want my checkered floor back. Well, you could come and turn your brush size back down and do it tile by tile, right? As a checker. Or there is a brush type here, okay? You have rectangular, you have circular, which obviously is circular as tiles can be in RuneScape, right? And then you also have a checkered pattern. This is a new feature added in 1.15, I believe. So with the checker feature, we can redo our checkered floor just like this. Place that there, 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 and there. Now to get the other color, well, we don't want to overlap what we just did. So again, we're going to rotate and do it this way. Right? So there's our checker floor, just back how it was. Other overlay tips. So if we want to do, let's just say we want to do a wooden path, right? Of course, we can just do a quick path out, right? That's fine. There is our path, and we want to make it turn down. You know, we could do something like this and very blocked and squared off, etc. But we don't want our paths to look like that. So you have these options here. This is a straight 50-50, right? So the blue is going to be where your overlay is placed, and the black will show your underlay. Okay, and again, rotate with E or Q. Okay, so you can round off your paths nice and proper. whoops, do it like that, and the other side like this, and then you can do something like this. So there we go. We have a corner path there, just like that. And to delete overlays, you just select any overlay and hit the all black one, and it's gone. Now underlays, again, blend. So don't be scared to go a little while with these. So let's say we want to change this to more of a desert theme, so we can select this color here. And if you just do tile by tile, you can see it's not changing a whole lot, right? So what I like to do with underlays is make my brush a little bigger, and I usually go with the circular pattern just because, and slowly paint it on. Okay, there's underlays. Good. What else can we cover? Again, the height tool is what most people have issues with. Now with doing walls and roofs, something to pay attention to, because no one likes walls just placed with no roofs. It makes your maps look very cheap and very shortcut. So something you'll want to notice when doing walls and roofs, all walls are not the same height. By that I mean, you know, you have your X direction, your Y direction, and your Z direction, right? Going up this way. All walls are not the same Z or height. So let's turn on our view tool and show, what do we want? We want to display tile height. So we know this area is 504, right? This whole area. Now let's also show hidden tiles, because we're going to go up to height level 1. So you can see here we're at 240. Well, how can that be if we're down at 504 here and only 240 here? So this value of 240 is actually the difference in whatever form of measurement from here to here to here. Okay, it is not the overall elevation, it is the difference between this plane and this plane. So pay attention when you're doing your roofs. You don't want your walls poking out of the tops of your roofs or leaving a gap between your roofs and your walls. Just make sure wherever you copy the walls from, or if you just grab a random wall, make sure you take the time to adjust your heights properly. That's the biggest thing I see, is either no roofs or the roofs done poorly. And it really makes a difference when you're in the maps. Before we close out, other tips I can give you, don't be afraid to explore and sort of get creative. After all, that's kind of the point of this tool. Type 22s are your best friend. So if you don't know, type 22s are your ground overlays. These objects are all walkable. So these are, I'm sorry, not ground overlays, but ground objects rather. So here's just some grass. So again, don't find a leaf of grass and say, okay, I'm going to add this to my swatches and use this everywhere. No, you want variation. You want this grass and that grass and that grass and this grass, and don't be afraid to change it up and blend things in nicely and make them look nice. Don't shortcut on your fine details, because they're very important. You can see here in this plain edge fill map that whoever created this map at jagex did not short, so why should you? Right? So they have different ground overlays. So this is a ground object, this and this is one, and this is a different one even. Okay, so don't shortcut on these. Another quick tip, Say you want to copy the Edgeville Castle, or I'm sorry, the Varrock Castle, or you want to grab an object. Say we want to grab this object to use at a different one, but you don't want to have to try to search coffin in the object viewer. So you can choose your select object tool, click on it, and then the hotkey is Control Shift I, and that will add it to your object swatches. Okay, so here we have it. We can add that coffin that we took back. Okay. Let me think. Okay, so let's talk about swatches here. Everything here is draggable. You can also set a nickname. So you'll find a lot of objects are loaded as null. Let's just say we want to set a nickname and call this thickest grass, right? There you go. And then we can call this thick grass. And etc. etc. This could be medium grass and that could be light grass, right? Just for your benefit. You also have the select, but you can just click for that. Set a nickname we talked about. Loading it to the object viewer will just bring it up, right? There's that 5339 object. And then obviously removing it. So say we're working on a large project and I just can't finish it tonight and I need to come back to it, but I want to keep my object swatches. When you save a map, especially to a .gz, it does not save what swatches you have here. So if you spent an hour at Varrock Castle grabbing a bunch of decorations or walls that you would like to use, if you save the map, you will lose them. So what you want to do is save this swatch. This will save this configuration in this order with nicknames. It'll save everything you need. So you'll just save it and it saves it as a .jswatch. Same thing with opening it. It'll search for a .jswatch. Other than that, I think we're going to wrap this one up. If y'all have any questions, feel free to message myself or RSPSi on Rune server, or if you can find my Discord, feel free to message me there. I want to thank y'all for checking the video out, and if y'all have any suggestions or want to see further tips and tutorials, feel free to let me know. Thank you.